Hey guys, buckle up for the second season of Anubhav. My name is Sanjana Suresh, Junior Coordinator of the Branding Cell, and I will be your host for this episode of Anubhav. In our previous season, we walked you through the intriguing journey SimSites experience as they explore the world of management. If you haven't listened to the first season of Anubhav, I would highly recommend you to give it a listen as well. We understand that choosing a specialization can be a defining point in a student's life, and to make the process a little easier for you, we have some industry professionals from various fields talk about their journey. The branding cell conceptualized these weekly doses of intriguing conversations to give you a deeper insight into the world of management. We hope to help you make an informed decision about choosing the right fit for you by the end of this season. Let's jump into a weekly dose of the podcast. Today, on the show, I would like to welcome our guest, Srijan Bhan. Currently a working professional at Bloomberg, Srijan Bhan is a graduate of Lady Shriram College. At Bloomberg, she is a part of the financial product analytics team, where she works as a fixed income advanced specialist of Asia Pacific, responsible for providing accurate and timely product advice or solutions to clients across the region. She's also the global content manager of Asia Pacific for News Analytics, a portfolio that requires her to work on strategic initiatives with the product managers for new products and enhancements while upskilling knowledge and skills for the Asia Pacific region. She has recently also picked on a leadership role of deputy team leader for India Analytics, driving projects and talent development for the team while collaborating with multiple stakeholders across the firm. Srijan is extremely passionate about the intersection of economics with gender justice, owing to which she volunteers her time as a council member for the Banking and Credit Council of Women's Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. On days she is not occupied by the above, you'll find her curled up in a corner with 90s rock music, watching anime, geeking about Star Wars and sports documentaries, or simply reading more on ways to advance gender equity. Today, she'll be talking about her journey in finance and the multiple career avenues it offers. Welcome, Srijan Bhan. Allow
Thank
me
you
to
so
ask the hottest, yeah, allow me to ask the hottest question of the hour. What motivated you to choose a career in the field of finance?
Great. I think my decision to choose where I work primarily had two factors that I took into consideration. Number one, for me, apart from, of course, the field that I work in, what was really important was also the culture of the firm that I'm a part of. Because I've always been a person who's always taken ownership of my own work. I've been quite self driven in the sense that I've always wanted to take lead on the kind of projects I do, and I've always looked out for the firms and organizations that allow me those kind of opportunities. So I think number one, that was a really big consideration, which really influenced the kind of firms I was listing and deciding to be a part of. But number two, of course, as you rightly said, the kind of field or area I'd want to be a part of, and finance, or if I may rephrase a little, economics was something that was really, really inclined towards. I think I've always been very passionate towards economics right from my school days. And the intersection of finance and economics, it's really close. It's quite intertwined, and you know how they play out together as two disciplines. So I think I was always interested. Economics was always something that motivated me, and trying to look for options in the world of finance, economics, and the markets, but also a company that allows me to thrive in the kind of areas that I was looking to excel in. I think those were two primary goals that I had, and I did hit a jackpot with Bloomberg. So
That's great. Moving on to the second question. What are the different career options in the field of finance and how has your journey been?
great. So I think for us to understand that it's really important to divide the markets in two parts, I would say. So for any student of finance, I'm sure you're aware of the fact that you can largely think of the market as the buy side and the sell side. So the buy side are just people and institutions that have money, and either their own money or the money of common people like us, and they use that for investments, right? And things like your insurance companies, asset management firms, pension houses, hedge funds, all of these fall under buy side. But the other spectrum of the market would be sell side, which are organizations on the side of the market that facilitates these investments and transactions. So that would be things like your commercial banks, investment banking firms, advisory firms, broking firms. So while we do understand these two sections of the market, there are plenty of roles within these sections for somebody in finance to explore, right? So if I were to talk about, I'll list down a few for the people who are listening to the podcast, in case it helps, in kind of finding for the right job and right role. So number one is you've got something where you are responsible for portfolio. So that's portfolio management. You'll just be maintaining, you'll have specific assets, how to generate returns on it, strategizing that, what's the best investment. And these don't necessarily have to be your big asset management or wealth management firms. I think currently in the market, there are a lot of asset management startups that are coming as well. So it does not always have to be, on a very big scale. There's also depending on what kind of work environment you want. But then number two is you've got your simple research analyst that could be across different asset classes. Somebody could be an equity research analyst, a person could be a debt research analyst. So depending upon whichever instrument or asset in the market you look at, you could pick on the role of being an analyst. You have to crunch numbers, you have to do a lot of analysis of the forecast, of the historical performance, whether you should buy or hold something. So those are all aspects within the role of an analyst that would be really important. Number three, which is really, really popular, is investment banking. Since that's one of the largest sell-side institutions you have. So, your global majors like your JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, all of these are companies, all of these are institutions where your companies go up to them, tell them that, look, I want to go through a process of IPO, or I want to raise debt. How do I go about that? So these are those investment banking firms that provide those large-scale advisory, and solutions to these companies. You've got your private equity and venture capitalists, who help different startups at the right point in time to provide them with that sort of an investment, fund them, look out for the growth and get their own return. So those are roles that you could also look into. Again, a lot of startups coming into this space. This financial risk management, and that's across market. It's across the banks on the sell side. It's also for the asset managers and funds, and hedge funds that we have on the buy side. So your financial risk management, I think, can also be a niche specialization within finance itself, something that's also coming up quite a lot in the market now. Apart from that, you've got your general commercial banks, all the commercial banks like, your Kotak, ICICI, SBI, Punjab National Bank, all of these different commercial banks, they have different teams within them, right? We've got the main bank treasury department of a bank, we've got corporate banking, we've got credit risk team. So even within the commercial bank, there are different teams where there are roles available for people to join in. And then I also feel something that we miss out on, apart from, all of this aspect in the finance, is also the public sector where you can find financial roles, which are things like your think tanks, or things like your Ministry of External Affairs, or Ministry of Human Resource Development. While it might not intuitively seem that you'll have financial roles there, but different, let's talk about the largest think tank, which is Niti Aayog, right? There are a lot of financial driven projects for the policy changes in our economy that the organization looks at. So a lot of research-based work, a lot of work in the development and the policy sector is also something that we can look at if you're interested in economics and finance, right? And then the last bit that I would like to cover are just your third-party institutes, where you've got your big four firms like your PwC, Deloitte, or your technology and data partners like Bloomberg, Reuters, right? So we're all kind of not really a part of any of the sell side or buy side, but we kind of help facilitate all of the transactions that take place in the market. I think I've listed down quite a few. So that's the first part of your question. In terms of your second part as to how my journey has been like, I think that was the second part, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think it's been brilliant. So I joined Bloomberg. I started working at the age of 20, which now retrospectively I think is too early, but it's been great. I think it's in just a matter of 3 years, I have already, advanced into the career ladder thrice now. I think the firm itself has got brilliant opportunities. So my role is purely client facing role. So it's almost like at the age of 20, 21, you're getting to talk to top notch CEOs, you're getting to drive conversations, hold business meetings, speak to the central bank of the country. I think all the kind of exposure I've gotten to have over the past few years has been absolutely brilliant. um, and for anybody interested, I'm happy to discuss more about my role later on if anybody from the listeners would like to connect.
Thank you so much. That was an amazing explanation about the career options and love your journey. So, our next question is do you think that finance is a good option for only those good with numbers?
Um, mm, okay. So finance as a career option does involve a lot of numbers. So I wouldn't, beat around the bush there. Yes, in its very essence, or it's in its very core, it would need you to have some knack with, quantitative data, analytical skills, your thinking abilities with numbers. Like, you shouldn't kind of be scared of numbers, right? That's number one. That is definitely really important. But at the same time, while it's really data driven, I do feel that these are skills that can be honed, right? So while you might not intuitively be the best at numbers, but these are skills you can definitely and 100% hone for yourself. And that simply, and the main question here is not if you're good at it, but do you have an interest in it, right? Because if you do have an interest in something, or if you want to get better at something, I do think you can do that. So I mean, it's going to sound really stupid, right? But I was always terrible at running. I would suck at running, but at the same time, I really wanted to get better at running. I always felt that I should be able to run, because that was something that always fascinated me and interested me. I started with 2 kilometers up until the day I'm able to run like 15 kilometers, as a hypothetical example, right? So I don't think that skills are really difficult to hone if you really have the interest or an inclination to do that. So yes, you need numbers, you need to be good with data, you need to be good with the quantitative aspect of it. But if you enjoy numbers, you can get better at it. And that's something you can definitely work on through the time that you have in your MBA.
Amazing. So, the next question is as we know, technology is growing rapidly. Do you think the future of finance roles will be taken over by AI, or is manual intervention necessary in this field?
Uh, so honestly, look, the kind of question this is, there are these global leaders like Elon Musk and Jack Ma, and all of these people are also contemplating on this question. So whatever I say might just be the most rudimentary analysis based on what I've read, because there are these big shots who are still discussing. I mean, it's a very hot topic, and it's something that's really going around in the market. But personally, whenever technology has advanced, it has taken away jobs, right? Simply because that's what technology does. It automates things, and the moment things are automated, you don't need a manual intervention. That's in a sense what technology means, and that's historically been true. Like, if we look at World War I, we had new machinery, new technology for artillery. We had that necessity where we developed a lot more technology. Similarly, World War II, we had new aircrafts, new communication and intelligence channels, medicine as a technology developed, new surgical innovations. All of these things do happen in every phase. And at this point of time, while artificial intelligence is in its very infancy stages, it's still being explored in the market. There are things that have come up, like your sentiment analysis, where you pick numbers, but you do a qualitative sentiment analysis on it. You've got things like your natural language ability, machine learning. While all of this is rapidly changing, and I think the next 40 to 50 years, you would expect it to have progressed quite a lot, I do feel that there is a certain fear around it. And that fear is exactly what's being discussed in the market, which is when is the time it become too powerful, or what's the best way of using it ethically. So I think the industry is a lot more aware of these questions, because of which inherently the people are a lot more cautious. So while I do think that it's going to be brilliant, because I don't see business or technology in isolation. I see business and technology as a means to an end of solving the problems of what we have in the society, right? And that could be anything. That could be, holes or gaps and loopholes we have in medicine, we have in the economy, we have in health infrastructure, in development, in public welfare initiatives. I think technology and business helps you really expand and work on that. Because of which I think artificial intelligence has great potential of really helping us solve more problems in a more efficient way, quicker way, more accurate data. But I also think the kind of caution that's around it and the kind of the kind of hesitancy people have where they're rethinking how we should use it, I think that's great and that should exist, because they'll really put that full stop where required in the future, where we would not let it go out of hand because we're already aware of the possible repercussions of that. So no, in short, I don't think that there is a lot of threat to it being too powerful or ultimately there being no manual jobs at all. I don't think there'll be a point for that.
That was very well put. Thank you so much for that. So, our next question is you have achieved so much at such a young age. What are your plans for the future? Would you like to diversify your career?
Um, yes, in terms of the diversification of the career, 100% yes. But and that's simply because and that's at the core of our firm as well, right? So a little bit about Bloomberg and where I'm working. I think the core of what we believe in is we don't get too comfortable with where we are, because that's when we stop growing. And that's why within the firm itself there are a hundred opportunities that you have to move literally across departments. So in terms of diversification, while right now I'm in the analytics team, which, I'm in the financial, I'm a product specialist and I'm with the analytics, but there are a lot more opportunities within this, financial sector to explore in Bloomberg. You've got your enterprise solutions that you can look at. You've got your market data solutions. You've got your the aspect of sales as well. You've got the product development aspect. So I think I would definitely be interested in diversifying my career when I feel that after a point of time, what I'm doing is not making me learn anymore. And I think that is something I would do. But I do think that I have the opportunities within Bloomberg itself, because the kind of, learning we have here, and it's a very exciting atmosphere. It's a very fast-paced atmosphere. I think there's every single person works with purpose. We are driven, it's not as if you enter in the morning and you're lost, okay, what needs to be done. Every person enters and they know what needs to be done for the day. It's a great culture. It's all extremely literal. Michael Bloomberg's literally just one message away if somebody wants to connect with him. It's that flat of a structure, so I think it's brilliant. I would look at diversifying my career. I think within the firm there are a lot of different roles that are open for us to pick on, a lot of relocations that we can do to different markets, different geographies. And every relocation means experiencing a new kind of financial market. The markets of Singapore, the markets of Australia, the markets of India are all really, really different. So definitely would love to, I think, when the time is right, would look at seeing what else and not get too comfortable doing what I'm doing. So I think that's basically my plan for the future as well, and diversifying my career.
That's great. So, the next is if not a career in finance, what would you have been doing?
Definitely be working in the public sector, because I and that's the beauty of the discipline that I love, which is economics. I think economics as a discipline is very, very flexible, very diverse. It's very you can mold it to whatever you wish to work on. So right now, within the role that I'm doing, I'm a fixed income advanced specialist. And fixed income, essentially, I'm sure like a lot of you would be aware, is debt, right? And if I were to just tell in one word what it is, it's just debt. And that debt includes not just your company debt, but a lot of your government debt. And because I work so much on government debts, the aspect of the economy, macroeconomic indicators and factors become really, really important, which is why this role appeals to me in its very essence, because I'm doing a lot of finance and I'm doing a lot of economics at the same time. But if, let's say, I would not have landed at Bloomberg, I think I would have been somewhere in the development sector exploring some opportunity on, I don't know, public policy and research and economics and gender, and yeah, probably that.
That's good. So, people think that finance is a challenging field to work in as opposed to others. What are your views on this?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on how you define challenging, right? And that's a bit of what we discussed before. For somebody who's not intuitively very technical or not intuitively quantitative in nature, it would be challenging because that's what challenging is for the person, right? But at the same time, if you're somebody who loves the excitement of the work, the uncertainty involved with it, the fast-paced environment, the volatility of the markets, I think you'd be something would be really excited with the prospect of working in finance, because of which it takes me back to where I started with. If you have an interest, you can hone that, right? You can work on what you probably aren't good at, because when you know your weakness, you can work on that weakness. And it's really cliched, but turn it into a strength. But that's possible, right? You can do that, because of which I feel that it really depends on how you define challenging. Of course, apart from these, requirements of your numbers and your quant aspect of it, it comes with what any other role in the professional space comes with, which is you need to have the right verbal and communication skills. You need to have a certain knack for leadership and adaptability, managing stakeholders, basic soft skills that everybody does require, right? So even if you're somebody who's really, really good with numbers, but you lack all of the very critical soft skills, I don't think any firm would be really happy hiring you, because at the end of the day, you'd be dealing with clients, you'd be dealing with your really important and critical stakeholders, and these are skills that are of the essence no matter where you work. So while things might not seem the most natural or intuitive or self-built for you, and hence you might find it challenging, but nevertheless it might just be something for you if you feel that you want to work on it and learn more about it, simply because every skill, honestly, you can kind of get better at every skill that you have. And that's also something that takes place in the professional setting. Even when you begin working, uh, I would say 80% of where you are after a year is all on the job learning, right? And that's because you pick those skills while you're working, which is why technical skills can be brushed off, technical skills can be worked on. It's really important to also have the soft skills. So I think it depends on how you define challenging, for sure, but I don't think it's out of the reach of absolutely anybody, because if you've got the basic soft skills or communication skills, you can work on your technical skills.
Thank you for the insight. The next question is, what is that one piece of advice you would like to give to our students who want to choose finance as their career option?
Uh, Honestly, I haven't thought about this because this one piece of advice, I think really know why you want to do or enter the world of finance, right? Because if it's something again, I don't think money is a very myopic reason. I think it might be privileged for me to say that, but if it's money in and of itself, possibly 2 or 3 years later, you might realize that this is really not the thing for you, right? Because while it might be a really lucrative field, it possibly won't make you happy. You might just find all of the associated, characteristics of a financial market really not meant for you. Because of which, I think number one and the most important thing is you should really know why you're entering into this field, right? What's the driving force, or what's your motivating reason to do that? And even if, as I said, even if you're not good at numbers, but just the idea, or but just the prospect of you being really critical in the development and growth activities of your own economy, of your own country, if just the idea of you being such an important person in literally managing like millions of money in the economy, if just that idea is something that fascinates you, I think absolutely go for it. Which is why you have to find a reason that resonates with you, or some idea of the financial market or the economy that resonates with you beyond just something like money or a certain stability, because you need to really love what you're doing. Otherwise you'll probably just be like jumping from job to job every 5 6 years, and probably that's not the most convenient thing to do. So know why you're doing what you're doing is number one that I would say, and I would like to tell everybody.
That was a great piece of advice. So, with this, we come to an end. Thank you so much for joining us, Srijan. I am sure that your insights will help a lot of future managers make informed decisions. Your journey and your words were truly inspiring. We are ever so grateful to have had the opportunity to speak with you. Thank you once again.
Thanks a lot, Sanjana. Thank you so much.
I would also like to thank our audience today for spending some time with us. If you liked this episode, please like, comment, share, and subscribe this podcast with your friends and family or with someone whom you think might benefit from it. This podcast was brought to you by the Sims Branding Cell.